Okay, welcome back. Peter Byck, what can an everyday person do to reduce carbon in the world? When you're not paying attention, you don't have to anymore. We got a big fucking magic vacuum to suck it out.
Vote.
Vote.
Vote for the right people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, vote for the right people. That's really the biggest thing.
Right, it isn't really a job that is so big only government can do it.
Yeah.
Don't you think that only government... No?
Agree?
No.
Wait.
You think private industry is going to save us from the...
If you're that concerned about it, put a big tax on gasoline, put a big tax on oil, and you will cause a change in behavior and a reduction of emissions.
What about a carbon tax?
Right.
Do you want a carbon tax? Do you want a tax on carbon?
Well, that might be the way to do it. I'd rather put it...
you have to have an opinion.
No, I would put it on the barrel of oil that we use for every purpose, industrial, transportation,
but again,
heating, and everything else.
Not to be Mr. Broken Record, but it's another case where there is no left on this issue.
Well, actually, there is.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
You go all the way to the left to the
the president is
libertarians.
for a carbon tax?
Well,
I haven't heard it.
No, he's not even for a gas tax because his energy secretary had to eat his words for about 3 years for proposing it before he was in the job. Now, that is why we have crony capitalism. That is why we're not meeting any of these huge problems facing the country.
Okay, Bob, you offered a beautiful eulogy for Stan Musial, from your hometown, right?
St. Louis.
What is one lesson today's athletes could take away from his career?
Well, I guess there are some that follow this path, but not enough. Grace and humility. You can still be exciting, you can still have style. You don't have to call attention to yourself in some sort of like self-aggrandizing, exhibitionistic way. The guy just conducted himself with style.
You gotta love watching the basketball players. I mean,
You mean like the University of Louisville Fighting Cardinals men's basketball team by any chance?
Would you be an alum?
Would I be
Of
in
Louisville?
I'm not, no.
No.
Born and raised
Oh,
there.
born and raised.
But they were a humble
Yeah,
group.
they were good. They were by and large good, and the way they reacted after Kevin Ware's injury was very classy.
Yeah.
but I must say, even when I play basketball now, because I've been watching the players on TV all these years, when I hit a good shot,
You grab your crotch.
I grab my crotch, I do that thing, just as a small measure. How about this? Could players in the NBA not have to high-five after every foul shot?
Even if they miss it.
Miss.
Right, if they miss it.
You fucking pussies. You missed a foul shot, and you have to get that affirmation from everybody on your team?
Yeah.
And that's why I drink, ladies and gentlemen, because my life is a nightmare. Okay. Stephanie, will voting rights be as much an issue in future elections as they were in 2012? Or I would add to that, do you think, since it didn't work, the cheating, do you think they'll try it again?
Well, that's what I was going to say. That was their, a big part of their electoral strategy, and that's how they were going to win, by denying people access to the vote. It didn't work.
It may have incited more people to vote.
Well, we used it that way.
Right.
Don't let them take this away from you. We still had, lines that were 7 hours long, 10 hours long.
Really?
So we have no idea how many people weren't able to vote. But, whoever runs for president in the next 4 years, whoever's running the Democratic Party, at that point has got to put a big investment into making sure that
if we didn't
it
have
doesn't happen
gerrymandering,
again.
if we didn't have cheating, if people got the right information, we would find it to be a much more liberal country than it is. It's not really a 50-50 country.
Wouldn't it be neat if we had one person, one vote in the United States?
If what?
One person, one vote? Wouldn't
Yes,
that be cool?
that's true. Get rid of the Electoral College.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Stockman, what do you say?
All right.
What do you say to economists like Paul Krugman, who argue that the only way to solve our economic problems is through growth, and that now is a good time to spend money on things like high-speed rail and other major government initiatives? I mean, it is true. Money has never been cheaper. Am I right?
Yeah, money has never been cheaper because it's been made that way by the Federal Reserve.
Right.
And the money that they're making, zero, never gets out of Wall Street. It's used by speculators. It's used by gamblers to make huge amounts of windfalls.
Right.
It's all going to the 1%. It's not going into Main Street. And so therefore, I think the policy of the Fed is totally wrong. It's not helping. Period.
But if we borrow, what does it cost today to borrow $100 billion?
Well,
Not much, right? Like
that's
$4
right.
billion or something?
Well, you know, that's the point.
That's pretty cheap to get a loan like that. What could we do with $100 billion?
Percentage-wise, it's more expensive to take money out of an ATM.
You're right.
And then they won't let you take more than $200. If you're going to charge me $4, let me take out $1,000, right? Yeah. But I interrupted your train of thought.
No.
Sorry.
I'm just glad I own the Mets. Is all. Bob, as a broadcaster, how would you address the history of racism and sexism at the Augusta National Golf Club? Why is it Bob's job? My God, he already took on gun control. Now you want him to take on
actually
racism?
came up earlier today on Dan Patrick's show.
Oh, I see.
Over the years,
You were doing another show today, Bob?
it was a radio show.
You were cheating on
It was a
me?
radio show. Over the years, because the Masters is such an important television property, and they hold such a tight rein on the broadcast.
Sounds racist right off the bat.
Yeah, the Masters, right? CBS pretty much has to dance to their tune. Jack Whitaker, esteemed great broadcaster years and years ago, called the gallery at Augusta a mob, and because of that, he was banned for several years.
Wow.
Gary McCord once said, these greens are so slick, it looks like they put bikini wax on them. And that was unacceptable, and he was banned. That hasn't been back in years and years.
I don't even get what that means.
Yeah, that it would be slick and the putts would...
Why is that insulting?
I don't know.
He said
It's
bikini.
not up to standards. But in any case, I would.
But golf is.
I would.
stupid.
Look,
Can we just say that?
I would have had
golf
to.
is a horrible sport. It's an insult.
No, it's not.
It is a
No, it's
horrible
not.
sport.
But I would have had to have addressed
not
their
really a
history.
sport.
I would have
an
insisted on
insult to lawns,
addressing their history, and I would have been thrown off the broadcast because that's the way it works.
It's like making running around the block a sport. It's ridiculous. It's terrible. All right, we got to go. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, pal.
Real Time with Bill Maher, Friday night at 10. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com.